The unsurpassed, penetrating and perfect truth is seldom met with, even in 100,000 myriad kalpas. Now we can see and hear it. We can remember and accept it. I vow to make the Buddha's truth one with myself. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. Yesterday I said that we don't want to analyze this poem on the heart that trusted the eternal too much. It's better just to read it and let it sink in. But there is a place for explanation. And in these talks, of which this is the first one, I'm going to try to do that. And it all takes place within the stillness and boundlessness that this poem points to. We don't want to lose sight of that. That which is engraved upon the heart that trusted the eternal. The way to the ultimate is not hard. Simply give up being picky and choosy. Just by not giving in to hatred and craving, will your heart and mind be as clear and bright as the realm beyond the opposites. Let but a hair's breadth of discriminatory thought arise, and you have made heaven and earth strangers to each other. I said picky and choosy rather than picking and choosing because after this book was published, Reverend Master Hubert later thought it would have been better to say, simply give up being picky and choosy. Often we do need to pick and choose. What am I going to eat? What should I do today? And so on. But being picky and choosy is rather different. It is the attitude of liking this and disliking that. I want this and I don't want that. And that attitude is a lot of what this poem is talking about and telling us to try to let go of. Well, it sounds so simple, doesn't it? Simply give up being picky and choosy. And really it is very simple, but it's not so easy. Liking and disliking constantly arise for all of us, and often in subtle ways that we may not notice. When I've been preparing these talks, I've tried to notice when preferences would arise, or judgments about this and that, and I would try just to let them go. When you notice them, you can more easily let them go. Well, like most of our thoughts, it's when you don't notice them that they grab us and carry us off unawares. Because we think our opinions are right, or our preferences are justified, and in a sense they might be. We get carried off, thinking, not realizing, this is just an opinion. In the end, they're just our opinions and preferences, and it's good to see that and not cling on to them. Thinking about Mara and the Buddha, Mara constantly turns up in the old scriptures, and he's portrayed as a kind of demon who would keep trying to oppose the Buddha, bring him down, discourage him, and so on. But you can also see him as a manifestation of the Buddha's own thoughts. In the stories, here's Mara, personified, and he tried to cause the Buddha to doubt himself, or doubt the wisdom that he had realized. He would say mean things, like, you're not enlightened at all, you just think you are, or why have you no friends? Or he would say, why not become a wheel-rolling king? And you could look how much good you could do. Forget this Buddha stuff, just be a good king. But then when the Buddha recognized Mara and saw these thoughts, it took away all his power over the Buddha's mind. And this is the important thing. Mara would say, oh, the Blessed One knows me, he sees me, and he would go away disappointed and defeated because his power was gone when the Buddha recognized what was going on. And when we recognize our distracting thoughts, or our judgments, or our doubt or fear, they lose up most of their power over us. Not all of it sometimes, most of their power. Oh, this is just a distraction. Oh, this is just me thinking about what I'd like and don't like, or just some opinion about somebody. And notice that the Buddha doesn't judge himself because these thoughts arise, or because Mara comes. He just says, Go away, Mara. That's it. Very helpful analogy, actually. Just by not giving in to hatred and craving will your heart and mind be as clear and bright as the realm beyond the opposites. They still arise, hatred and craving still arise. We need to keep seeing them and letting them go over and over again. Hatred and craving, this includes all forms of grabbing on and pushing away, like and dislike, wanting this and not wanting that, slight judgments and preferences, greed and aversion. And simply by seeing them and not giving in to them, they lose most of their power over us. Because if we can be aware enough and still enough to see our preferences and judgments whenever they arise and let them go, our heart will be at peace and our mind will be clear and bright. Well, most of us have got quite some way to go to be like this, but we're working on it. Let but a hair's breadth of discriminatory thought arise, and you have made heaven and earth strangers to each other. This reminds us of Great Master Dogen's rules for meditation. The separation will be as that between heaven and earth, if even the slightest gap exists. For when the opposites arise, the Buddha mind is lost. It's the same thing. And Dogen would have been very familiar with this poem, which was written hundreds of years before his time and was widely disseminated in the Soto school. In Chinese culture, heaven and earth are the opposites, up and down, yin and yang, light and darkness, male and female, and so on. Humans live between the two. We need both. One is not better than the other. They work together. You can't have just one and not the other. But when we start to judge and discriminate, we see them as opposing each other. But actually, the opposites work together. Within all light is darkness, and darkness there is light. When the craving to possess emerges before your eyes, do not persist in following its perverting path. When you allow gratification and dissatisfaction to compete within you, they will create a sickness in your heart. If you are not aware of the deeper purpose for which we train, you toil in vain, however pure your thoughts. This craving to possess may still come up, but we don't have to judge it. When it emerges, don't persist in it. Just let it go. Don't persist in following it. Otherwise, we're trying to get rid of craving by pushing it away, and that defeats our purpose. We're trying to just sit still and let it all go, not to push anything away, not to grab onto anything. When you allow gratification and dissatisfaction to compete within you, they will create a sickness in your heart. Trying to get rid of craving or trying to get rid of hatred just create conflict in ourselves, and we have no peace. Trying to be perfect, trying to get peace of heart, and we're going at it in the wrong way. Because we're not trying to be perfect. We're not just trying to get peace of heart. We're giving ourselves to something. Now we come to the most important thing. If you are not aware of the deeper purpose for which we train, you toil in vain, however pure your thoughts. The deeper purpose, to realize the one which is, the eternal, the unborn, to entrust ourselves to it, and to live in harmony with it. The heart that trusts to the eternal. If we're missing the point and just trying to have a perfect mind, we will toil in vain, however pure our thoughts, because purity is not the purpose, is not the point. The all-embracing is perfect, and like the great vault of space, it lacks for nothing and has nothing in excess. Because we are good at grasping after or pushing away, we are not at one with it. The scriptures constantly point to the perfection of Buddha nature, despite all the suffering in the world. The all-embracing is perfect. Nothing is lacking, nothing is too much. How may we understand this? By letting go of our opinions and judgments, our limited view. That is how. Because we are good at grasping after or pushing away, we are not at one with it. be full of opinions about everything. I like this, I don't like that. This is good, that is bad. This is right, that is wrong. This doesn't mean we shouldn't care about the world, that we should be indifferent to suffering and cruelty and selfishness. They're everywhere, as we know. And as the poem says later, the one is everything. Everything is the one. They're not separate at all. We're not trying to cut ourselves off from the world and the suffering and so on, but we don't have to drown in it. We can look up and see the great vault of space. We can see that there's something beyond our limited views, beyond this world. But we're still living within the world. We're not separate. But we can entrust ourselves to the one. That's something beyond our limited views. And we can keep letting go of the little thoughts and views that seem to obstruct us and narrow our view. This whole poem is about acceptance and equanimity. We often talk about acceptance, but you don't talk so much about equanimity. Equanimity is evenness of mind, essentially. And it's one of the 4 Brahma Viharas, the 4 divine abodes or immeasurable states, which are loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity, immeasurable states. The Buddha talks about them quite often, and usually in terms of mentally pervading the 4 quarters with each of these immeasurable states in turn, to all beings in all places, including oneself. So one cultivates a mind imbued with loving kindness, and then compassion, and then sympathetic joy, and then equanimity, and radiates out each of them out in turn for the benefit of all beings, including oneself, because we need these too. So equanimity tends to be somewhat overlooked as one of the 4 divine abodes, the 4 immeasurable states. Loving kindness and compassion are clearly virtues we want to cultivate, and sympathetic joy also, taking joy in the good fortune of others rather than being envious or mean-spirited. But equanimity? Well, this whole poem shows us how and why the practice of equanimity is also limitless, is also one of the immeasurable states, without boundary or qualification or any condition at all. It might sound a little bit dull compared with loving kindness and so on, but it works with the other immeasurable divine abodes, and it's liberating. We're working on letting go of our opinions and preferences when we see them arise. And they come up all the time. We don't have to judge them, just keep letting them go when they come up. We don't have to get caught up in them. And it's an immeasurable, boundless, unconditioned thing. So as I said, it's not that we don't care. We're not just sitting in our little quiet space and disregarding everything that goes on in our world. We need compassion, loving kindness, and sympathetic joy. We care deeply about the sufferings we see and hear about, and the things that we experience in our own lives. But we can sit still and see beyond it. There is something within which it all takes place. And that is what we place our trust in, that which is engraved upon the heart that trusts to the eternal, unborn, undying Buddha nature, however you want to call it. So, during this week, let us sit still, both in formal meditation and in our other activities, and see where our preferences and opinions arise, and just do our best to let them go, gently, without judgment or striving, and without dwelling on them too much. And this is what Kangche Sosan is teaching us today. Homage to all the Buddhas in all worlds, homage to all the Bodhisattvas in all worlds, homage to the scripture of great wisdom.